Lesbianism is a virtue. Howdy hole, and welcome back to Hole Chat, a boy love and girl love podcast that seems to be really into maids lately. Like, really into maids. I'm your host, Chuck, and with me today is my favorite Scottish lass, Keelz.
I thought you were going to say maid, and I was going to be like, nah, I'm not a good maid.
I would hope that you're not a maid in this relationship.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not a good maid.
Well, it's not about your ability to clean. I was gonna tie in some, thing to you being my reparations. But it's not about you being my maid. It's about the fact that I was owed this by the government for being black in my family, suffering.
So they gave you a maid and I'm the maid?
No, they gave me a white woman. 40 acres and a mule? Hell no. A white woman.
Yes.
Oh, man. They're going to learn a lot about our inner workings and what I call you at home.
Reparations is a fine nickname.
I know we did very chaste lesbians last week, and at the end I had promised more Edwardian lesbians, but with fucking this time, and I'm delivering.
Thank goodness. Nothing wrong with chaste maid lesbians. It's still nice to look at. But this is called Hole Chat. I'm here for some hole.
Yeah, I would also like a little hole, given what's going on. So we're still dealing with maids, but since no one's getting murdered, we can actually spend more time learning about social hierarchies and the origins of feminism and, maid lifestyle and whatever. And then, pounding. Plenty of pounding.
Thank God. Just no murder.
Yeah.
Great story. I tell you what, I read all of Made in Heaven secretly? Yes, I have. You told me about it, and I read it. Because, after we did the podcast, I was like, I have to know. It's very good. It's a very good story.
Told you.
I still think the main character's ugly, but, I just want unique-looking characters. Because there's a certain type in, Korean and Japanese manhwas and mangas, and they reuse the same kind of, hime-cut princess look over and over. That is my least favorite style. I don't like it. I get that it's in. I don't like it. I don't like seeing it all the time. It annoys me. She was sure spunky, but, I just don't like the style. But great fucking read. Had a good time. But the whole time I was like, I'd feel a lot better if there was some lesbian kissing in this.
Truthfully, it would have just put your heart right.
If they had even done that thing where they tuck hair behind your ear, or, there was an opportunity, they could have buttoned the collar of each other's dresses, and I would have felt better.
Yeah.
But it was just too chaste. We're in hell, and it's too chaste. So I'm ready for some Edwardian maid fucking.
Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about Patience and Esther. Patience and Esther is a graphic novel written by S.W. Searle and released in 2020. It's a surprisingly horny story considering the general style of what Edwardian era tales, so I think this is going to be a real treat for y'all. So, let's kick into it. The story begins with Patience, our plump Scottish protag, dressed for traveling and running up a path towards a large home. Right as she reaches the front door, a crack of thunder shoots across the sky, and the clouds unleash a torrent of rain. The door opens, revealing a now soggy Patience. The butler, who opened the door, Mr. Trask, rushes her in, citing that a certain Mrs. Sweet would be quite cross to find her, not only using the main entrance, but looking as disheveled as she is. So this is our kind of first hint that, I think we talked about last time, servants aren't supposed to use a lot of the main entrances. They're supposed to know how to get in back ways, or get in through a window or sneak around or whatever. And so
no, you're not just supposed to walk through the front door. It's you have to get special permission for it. Normally in a lot of the Edwardian books I read, it's actually a sign that someone is a really cool person if they let a maid in through the front door
Exactly.
or a servant in through a front door.
Exactly.
Like, that is a trope. Like, oh, this person has a bad reputation, but he lets all his servants use the front doors. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Mr. Trask and Patience share introductions as he leads her into the kitchen and presents her to some of the other staff. She's greeted warmly and offered some tea, considering the heinous weather.
Is this her new job, too, or?
We're going to get into it, yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, we are introduced to one Miss Bird. She's in the middle of styling a hat to match a dress when Mr. Trask interrupts her, asking for her assistance. Mrs. Sweet, the head housekeeper, is still out, leaving Miss Bird as the only one who can handle onboarding patients. So yes, brand new job.
Yeah. So that's even a bigger deal. You're going to get fired for coming in through the front entrance on your first day, which is crazy.
Yes. So I will go ahead and say, I've already said that Patience is Scottish. Miss Bird, though her name is like B-Y-R-D, so very like British sounding last name, she is Indian.
Nice.
Yes. And she's fairly dark skinned too, which is kind of sick to see. So Miss Bird comes to the kitchen and introduces herself as Esther, then whisks Patience off to help her get warm and dry. She shows Patience to a room, the room that they'll be sharing together, and invites her in, showing her where she'll sleep, where to put her things. It's not much, but Patience is just surprised to have her own bed for the first time.
Now, is it like a double room, or is there going to be like more ladies that come in later?
It's just a two-person room.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. That's great. My dumb history knowledge is like, wow, what an advancement.
Exactly, yeah. Now, it's not just some giant, area where all the maids sleep together, where they're sleeping two to a bed, something like that. No, they actually each have their own bed, and it's small and like kind of crazy looking, but it's like very decent for servants' quarters. Truthfully,
yeah, it's nice. Like a pinnacle of being a maid, and you're living the good life, was if you got your own room, no matter how small it was.
Mm-hmm.
But sharing a room with just one other person,
yeah,
great.
Because like they have their own little fireplace, which is also rare, is to have a fireplace in the room. Because a lot of times, servants would not get climate controlled rooms at all. They would have nothing. They would just kind of have to like hunker down. So it's a decent sized room. Get your own sheets and everything.
I'm a little shook. Patience looks like me.
Oh, that's so weird. I wonder why I bought this book. That's so crazy.
She's got the same nose and everything.
That's crazy.
How much of nudity of Patience do you see? A lot?
Yeah. Esther lays out an old set of uniforms on Patience's bed, inviting her to strip off her wet clothes and try them on. Except Patience is thick with two C's and a swarthy Scottish lass, and the uniform is too small.
She's got to be curvaceous as fuck.
Yeah, she's got that Scottish woman build. Like, I would be able to birth 4 children and also like wrestle a crocodile and kill a man kind of thing.
A log type of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She could be log thrown for sure.
What's it called? A caper, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
But she's got that build, and she's like pleasantly plump on top of that. So like yeah. Whatever they have for her is not gonna work.
Like I'm a Texan, but Scottish is in my ancestry. Like, my grandparents are from there, whatever. I'm not gonna claim to be Scottish. It's just in my heritage. But like, yeah, like I definitely got that bod of like, gosh, I was trying to think of her name, but I can't remember. Do you remember Samurai Jack and the Scotsman's wife?
I don't remember the Scotsman's wife.
Oh gosh, I feel like I have her bod sometimes.
I can't see that.
We'll have to look her up, and you're gonna crack up because like it's the meanest way to draw a Scottish woman. But the fact that her big, ripply, muscled man loves her so much is so real.
But yeah, Patience is she's just sturdy. She's very sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
Esther offers to take Patience's measurements in hopes of tailoring the threadbare uniforms into something that can work. She reaches around Patience with a measuring tape, causing her to pull the lass close, crushing their bosoms together. It is indeed a moment of intense lesbianism, at least from Esther, who breaks eye contact and looks away. So they're chest to chest, and like she has tailored other people's clothing. She is a lady's maid, So she has to measure women regularly, but she's chest to chest with Patience, and she's like, oh, I gotta, excuse me.
To be a secret lesbian Edwardian nun.
Legitimately. Mrs. Sweet, thankfully, has returned to the manor and knocks on the door, needing to speak with Patience. More introductions are exchanged, and Mrs. Sweet puts her stern nature on full display as she explains the expectations she has for Patience, with some emphasis on making sure she's not pregnant, which, explained last time too, you can't be a maid if you are married or have a child. You have to be, like, virtuous, quote
unquote. Is she making this comment because Patience is heavier?
No, it's, you get the feeling that she does this to everybody.
Okay.
And that because Patience is a new maid, she needs to know especially, because Patience is new to being in society, period. She's a country girl.
Yeah.
So she's new to all of this and may not know that, like, you can't get pregnant and do this.
Yeah.
So that's really where it's coming from.
Yeah, and like, a lot of people were very suspicious of the new maids back in the day.
Exactly.
They'd be like, why'd you transfer? Why are you here? Because unfortunately, a lot of times why maids transferred was because, like, a young master or a higher-up servant of the house was harassing the fuck out of them.
Exactly. And so that is also why I think she's drilling her so hard. But it gets established that Patience is so new to this, new to being in the city even, or new to not being out in the boonies, essentially. And so she has a recommendation from her family's landlord, and that's how she got this job. Because otherwise, it would have been nearly impossible for her to get a job, too, as a maid.
You have to have a good recommendation.
Exactly.
Good standing, all that shit.
Ultimately, Esther will be in charge of getting Patience up to speed, and has eagerly volunteered to help with her uniforms and other clothing. Because normally, it would be the maid's responsibility to, if your uniform doesn't fit, you have to take some of your wages and buy a new uniform or put the money towards that. And so now Patience isn't going to have to spend the extra cash on that. Esther's going to help her figure it out. And so Mrs. Sweet remarks how lucky it is for Patience to have someone looking out for her. This is gay. This is all for gay reasons immediately. Esther's helping out because she's like, I feel like I have to. She's such a nice young lady. I'm going to help her out.
She's a nice young lady. Stares at her tits.
Truthfully. But Patience hardly agrees, like, yes, I am lucky. Thank you very much. Patience is introduced to the rest of the staff that evening and is thankful to have been instantly welcomed by her peers. They're a good, reliable bunch, but the day has been long, and she's still so new to all of this, and she had to travel all that distance, and a girl's gotta sleep. So she turns in for the night. Late that night, Esther returns to their room, rousing Patience from sleep, on accident. Esther apologizes for waking her, but Patience, forever kind and patient, is just concerned about the late hour and how tired Esther must be. But Esther enjoys these moments of quiet, and of course, the work of a person in service is very long. She strips down and changes into her nightgown, Patience's eyes locked on and captivated by her gorgeous dark skin. She quickly looks away when Esther notices her gaze.
We're going to have our own Edwardian love story. This is about us.
But yeah, let me show you, I'll show you where they do the, bosom to bosom, and homegirl being like, excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Very sweet looking, honestly.
Yes, and let me show you Esther just trying to strip down. But yeah, Patience is in bed being chill, and their eyes crack open, and then she's like, beautiful skin and a titty.
Yeah.
And then also looks away.
Yeah. Given what time period this is and that she's from the country, is Esther her first person of color she's ever seen?
We're not 100% sure. She seems to be aware that, she seems to be aware of, the British occupation of India and knows about Indian people. But this may be you know what? Yes, I think this is, the first Indian person that she's probably seen, because Esther goes to visit Patience's family at one point, and her younger siblings are like, holy shit, an Indian person. The older siblings are...
know not to blurt
it out. They know not to blurt it out, but one of the little kids is like, she's like a princess from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious, because, lesbians, but, it's also, it'd be cool, I don't know how the story goes, but, if Esther keeps catching Patience looking at her, Esther might assume, oh, it's just because I'm a person of color. She's never seen someone like me.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a fair point to make, honestly.
I like tropes like that in history.
Mm-hmm.
There was like, I can't remember the name of it, and I'm gonna be mad. But there was this really good story where it was like, it's this Chinese man visiting like England, and like he misses that his tour guide has a crush on him because everyone's staring at him.
Yeah.
Because he's different and new looking, so he just keeps thinking that the gaze from like this guy who is showing him around and taking care of him is about him, being Chinese and not necessarily because, oh, I'm into you.
Right.
But like, I like that trope because what a good excuse if you want to hide, that you're gay or lesbian or whatever. Because like, I've never seen someone like you.
I'm so captivated, by you being you. Yeah.
It's still like, in modern times, it's definitely rude behavior. Don't do this. But back in the day, it was less rude. Like,
yeah, for sure. The next day begins Patience training as a maid. Esther runs her through her daily duties, which, while many, are very doable for a country girl. She's gobsmacked by how luxurious everything is, because even the chamber pot has high-quality fabric on it.
There's fabric on the chamber pot?
Yeah. They just laid a piece of fabric over it, and she's like, this is nice fabric.
No, that's impressive. Like, no, it actually is impressive. I'm like, they have fabric on the chamber pot?
I know, went pinky all the way up.
Damn.
In the middle of the day, she's asked to light a fire in the drawing room, and accidentally comes across a guest of the manor, Lady Blythe. Patience apologizes, but the lady really doesn't seem to mind. She does, however, inform Patience that she shouldn't speak unless spoken to with other high-class folks. Patience thanks her for her kindness, but it doesn't change her desire to run away into the woods. So she broke a cardinal rule and embarrassed herself on her first day. Mrs. Sweet is going to cast her out at this rate. She says as much, and then she rushes into her shared room, which I get her because I would feel like I ruined my entire life if I fucked up on my first day of work. It's not that deep, but she feels like it is.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's sad because, like, she's probably heard a bit of horror stories too about maintaining and keeping a job.
Yeah,
because you could totally get fired for speaking to the wealthy.
Right. And again, it's her first day, but she's not wrong to be worried about it.
Yeah, be nervous.
But she rushes to her shared room, and there, Esther is sitting on her bed, reading.
For some reason, I didn't think you were going to say reading. My brain is like, splayed open. Like, no! I don't know why. Already I'm there. This has led me I don't know. I guess I'm just horny. I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know. I just, for some reason, was like, yeah, we're getting into it. I'm like, no, we're not. Chill out.
Damn. But she's there. Esther's there. She's reading. She asks what all the fuss is about, and Patience throws herself onto Esther's lap in an upset heap. She confides in her, lamenting how socially clumsy she'd been. But it's fine. Mrs. Sweet isn't an asshole, and it's the first gosh darn day. And Patience has friends here. Meaning Esther, specifically. Esther is her friend. Already in under 24 hours.
We're besties.
If anything, she should follow in Esther's footsteps and just take a quick break to reorient herself before returning to her task. This buoys Patience's mood and allows her to tough it out for the rest of the day. She's exhausted by the end of the day, but at least it's over. Patience returns to her shared room and begins to shed her clothes as she talks with Esther about her day. She's still worried that Mrs. Sweet thinks poorly of her. The housekeeper watched her all day, which obviously means the disapproval of Patience's actions and the entirety of her person, and that she hates her, and etc., etc. She's just riffing.
She's your manager, and she's just checking on you.
Exactly.
Good
but
gosh.
Never worked this way before.
I know.
So she's
new. I'm just, as someone who's been in the workforce, all I can say is that a lot of times the managers and leaders are watching you to just make sure you're doing okay. The ones that are watching you and are being pricks, well, that's them. That's not a you problem.
Exactly. Esther assures her that that's not the case as she watches Patience strip down from behind her book.
No, Queen, don't be upset.
Look. Girl, legitimately, yes, absolutely. They, and I know that these are women that have to strip down in their rooms because they don't really have a bathroom situation. They have one chamber pot, whatever. But still, every time, just the little glance.
Oh, The art style's very cute.
Yeah, but like Esther will stare at her and then look away and then be like, "Oh no, my book's so good. Look at my book."
Patience has better boobs than me, though.
Hey,
My boobs aren't awful. I'm just flat chested.
who cares?
I care a little. Not really. But I care a little sometimes.
But not only is Mrs. Sweet not thinking poorly of Patience, but she's a woman of great integrity and someone that Esther personally admires. Which, yeah, Mrs. Sweet is an older woman who remains steadfast to her profession and worked her way up to housekeeper. She's not devoid of responsibilities, but she's allowed far more leniency and freedom than her fellow servants. Hell, she gets a real breakfast served to her every morning in a private room. And she gets served breakfast in bed.
The Mrs. Sweet does?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a level of freedom young poor women could only aspire to have. Also, Mrs. Sweet is black.
I was going to ask if she's black or Indian.
Which makes it even cooler. Like, yeah, she is a black woman, and she's just been out here rocking and rolling and has worked her way up from, like, regular servant to housekeeper. That's pretty fucking cool in this time.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. They end up discussing Mrs. Sweet and her station. Patience worried about her personal life. Like, she's thinking, like, well, she's worked this whole time. She's not allowed to, have a relationship, marry, have kids. And so she's worried that she's lonely. Because from Patience's point of view, like, she has a million siblings and, like, loving parents, so this has got to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Esther sees it a different way, though. Mrs. Sweet doesn't live her life defined by others. By a man, specifically. Which is something she finds incredibly admirable and something she wishes to mimic for her own life.
Yeah, because Esther's a huge lesbian.
Yeah,
Lesbian.
No men at all. That would be great.
Winky face.
Uh-huh. For Patience, this is all new, though. She's used to living for others, considering her position as the oldest child in her family. And she misses them dearly. She's really only working here as a way to support her younger siblings' future. So she goes off, gets to be a maid, then she can help her other siblings, get a letter of recommendation and, have good standing and stuff like that.
Do we learn how many siblings she has?
I think we got a general idea, but I know it's more than 5. I think at one point she lists off the living siblings she has, and then she has 2 siblings that died before her as well. So I want to say there's at least 7.
I was just curious because I get from all the talking that there's a lot, but I was curious if
there's quite a few. We get to spend a lot of time with the sibling like right behind her towards the end, like she shows up. But this leads to her asking about Esther's family. A little get to know you informational exchange, which is overdue considering that they've both been ogling one another already.
Yeah, I was about to say since they've been eye fucking the whole time.
Esther explains a disappointing but unsurprising heritage. She was born in India to a domestic servant mother and a British white nobleman.
Woof.
Said nobleman promised her mother benefits to enter a relationship with him, then cast her aside once he acquired a proper marriage to a white woman. Not being a complete asshole, he did give her mother an allowance and the opportunity to retire. So specifically, he said, like, I did kind of screw you over.
Yeah.
Here's money to live out the rest of your life. Don't work in service anymore. Do what you need to do.
Well, like, that is honestly his duty. Like, it's considered, if he was a gentleman, if he's supposed to be someone of the gentry, you're supposed to take care of your bastards. You don't necessarily have to take care of the women, which is nice of him. But if you don't take care of the kids you, like, beget from your fooling around, people can, like, spread that shit about you, and you cannot get married. You can lose the chance to be a lord. Because they're saying, they're not saying, hey, don't fuck around. They're saying, no, fuck around. But every kid that comes out of that, you got to take care of.
Yes.
And if we find out you haven't taken care of that kid, well, then we're going to spread nasty rumors about you.
And to be fair, he probably had more leeway to not do anything because it was also like this is a time period where the British were colonizing extra hard and were like, Indian people are basically no better than animals. And so you have to lead them and guide them and like, oh, poor dear. So he wouldn't have been as beholden to have to take care of Esther, but he still did do that. And so he acknowledged his daughter and encouraged her to take on his surname and then got her this job in England so that she could become a part of regular society.
Well, since this is a period when he is more encouraged to do it. Like, it's the older period where it's like, no, it doesn't matter. But the
Okay.
fact that the fact that people are like coming over now, that's what makes the difference.
Cool.
Because if this was back when they were just coming over all the time, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
care.
Okay,
But this is like, if they're coming over, there's a little. It's all show. None of it's real. It's all rich people show.
Sure.
Like, they made up what was good for them in the moment.
Yes.
Seasoning is great. No, seasoning sucks.
Exactly.
Tomatoes are great. No, tomatoes are poison. It's all made up. Like, but like, point is, probably around this time, it would have been a big deal if he didn't support his bastard child, and like, and so he probably was like, I'm gonna one up supporting my child and also support the woman. And then also, this gives me intrigue because, like, is he a second son? Is he a third son?
Yeah.
Because if he's a second or third son, he might have thought, I can marry this Indian woman. And then I bet Dad found out and was like, no, you cannot.
Yeah, we definitely don't know more specifics in that, but we do understand that Esther hasn't seen her dad in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And she's not super keen about her, like, she's thankful for her situation in certain ways because her mom also wanted her to come here and try to get a better life for herself. But it's very complicated.
Yeah.
What it really comes down to is that racism and imperialism fucking suck. But
Like
that's the big takeaway, is that this still sucks in a lot of ways.
But like, if there was a side story also talking about, like, I would be interested.
I'd be fascinated.
I'd be fascinated to learn if there was any problems with him, because like, did he honestly? Because like, dude, second sons and third sons, they think they can get away with anything as long as they're not going to inherit a title. But then all of a sudden, when they're going to inherit a title, world comes crashing down, and it's like, hey, no, you can't marry that opera singer, or you can't keep this wife. You need to marry this woman. I'm telling you to.
Yeah.
So it's all fascinating because it's just like, it's all awful.
Yeah.
And it's all racism and money and nepotism, all that shit. But I find it fascinating the shit that rolls down the hill and what it causes.
So Esther is here, thousands of miles away from her mother, grandmother, and her culture, trying to live a life that is not defined by anyone but herself. Patience is like empathizing with this, or like trying to empathize with the situation. She's feeling very sympathetic about it. And Esther explains that she isn't super fond of her very, English name that she has, her very Anglican name. So she asked her for her full name, her true name, which is Esther Indumuki Saha.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I really like it.
So she doesn't like her last name specifically?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't like going by Bird. She'd prefer to go by Saha. But she's been told specifically, you can't use that here. And I get it.
Yeah.
He's her father for everything is trying to help her, and that's why he wants her to use the last name. But it still makes her feel uncomfortable and not kind of
right, because it's a very white name. It's like, I'm sure it's like, you could compare it to all the cultures who got ripped from their groupings and were told, hey, pick a name. Like, I remember, like, when we learned about like Native Americans who were getting ripped from home, and how they were given a stick and they're like, point at a name, and it's like they can't even read it, and so you're making them point at scribbles on a board to them, and then they're like, great, you selected Rose, your name is Rose,
and it's
now.
always the whitest fucking name too,
or like religious name, like, oh, your name's Madonna now, or Mary, like, and it's like, okay, your name's Prudence, and it's like, cool, my name translated to like Whisperer of the Snow or some cool ass name, and you just fucking made me pick that bullshit. Like, and it's not just Native Americans, it's all this other cultures that it happened to.
Yeah.
It like fucking like my brain.
I can't.
Why am I telling you this? I'm the white one in the room.
I can't even say shit. My name is Chuck, which is one of the whitest names I could possibly have.
Yeah.
Every part of my name is incredibly white. We're not giving it, obviously, but like, I have been mistaken for a white person on the phone.
Yeah, fun facts. The best part, my name is not white sounding, so my real name isn't Keelz, surprise, surprise, but my real name sounds foreign enough that I'm the one who gets the racist phone calls and racist mail, and it's delightful, because then when they catch on I'm white, you can just hear the air suck out of their lungs, and they're like, oh, I made a mistake, and it's like, you sure did! Like, it's, I don't know, we find it funny, because, like, because you get the, like, hey, please come here and vote, we love you, and I get the, don't you dare come vote. You're not allowed to vote. I got so much anti-voter registration mail, or like 2016 and like this latest election. It was stupid just because my name does not seem white. Fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. After the conversation, they both drift off to sleep. Patience awakes, her eyes taking in a beautiful alcove filled with flowers and soft grass.
She's dreaming.
And amongst all the botanical beauty sits Esther, hair cascading down her back and shoulders.
Like Venus?
Not quite, but dressed in a slip of a dress and casually reading a book. Like, she's in an all-white dress. It's off the shoulder. I think there's like a slit up the side. Like, it's way too much.
Girl, she's having a... Oh, man. I don't have a wet dream with your roommate in the room. Bless your heart.
Patience, to her surprise, is naked and bare in front of Esther's gaze. Esther beckons to her to come sit. She then tells Patience that she has felt Patience's gaze on her many times. Their bodies lean close together, their faces too coming close, until their lips are just about to touch.
Let's do the clam jam, Patience.
Patience wakes up for real.
Yeah.
Congrats on your first wet dream, honey.
Christ, how old is Patience? 19?
She's 19.
I'm not saying that's late. I wanted to know how young she was. Because, 19 is young.
Very young.
Honestly, England during this time is very fascinating to me. Because you are young until you essentially have a child.
Yeah.
And I find that crazy. Because it's like, let's say she was 21. They would still be like, oh, you're a little baby because you haven't been touched yet. Mm-hmm. And that always still just kind of blows my mind. Because then you would also be like, but then again, the 17-year-old has a child and she's all grown up and is mature and a matron. How that shit works just...
It's a little bit about life experience, so they're not 100% wrong.
They're not, but it also just kind of fucks with my brain a little bit. They're not wrong, but it's also just the way they're doing it is wrong. Yeah. If that makes sense.
But I still also know 21-year-olds that I'm like, you need to go back home, you're a child. And then I know other 21-year-olds who could be my boss. So,
yeah.
It is what it is. Time passes, placing the setting of the story in mid-spring. May Day, to be specific. We're also given an opportunity to see how Patience's confidence has grown, at least when it concerns Esther.
So, she's still intimidated by Mrs. Sweet.
Uh-huh.
Oh, honey.
Some of the other staff tried to convince Esther to go with them to a May Day celebration, despite her clear desire to do literally anything else. So Patience steps in and explains that poor Esther couldn't possibly be out in all that weather when she's already feeling less than her best. You know, like a liar.
Is she blaming it on her menses?
No, she's just like, oh, well, she's a bit congested, and look, she's got a little baby cough, and oh, her head, and it's very much no, she might feel a little under the weather, but maybe it's allergies. She's honestly okay.
Yeah, she just doesn't want to go. She's like, I want to dance at your maypole. Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Patience offers herself to accompany them instead, and puts Esther to bed for the evening. You get where her coworkers are coming from, because they weren't going to be allowed to go unless enough women went, because they're the footmen are going with the women.
Yeah, it has to be a certain amount. Yeah.
Yes, because they're what if they get into a scandalous situation? Yeah. So you get where coworkers are coming from, but it's also let Esther stay home and read her books. When they return, Patience regales Esther with stories from that evening as she prepares herself for sleep, which is another great opportunity for Esther to ogle. Don't feel bad for either of them, because at this point they're both looking and could easily undress more modestly or something, but they don't.
At this point, it's they're giving each other a show.
Yeah, because it's always straight off in front of you, and I know it's I would make use of that corner and turn around and do something, or pull my bra out from under my shirt without taking it out. Nope, full dress off, let's fucking go.
I don't even know if they have bras at this point. Isn't it just chemises?
Of course it's in chemises, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
I was gonna say.
I know. Still, Esther feels a bit guilty. About the evening, not about the ogling. Perhaps she should have gone rather than stayed holed up in their room reading. Nonsense. Patience assures her that her time off is her own, and she shouldn't feel pressure to do anything, especially when the others are being pushy about it. Esther repays Patience's kindness with a brilliant smile and a thank you.
And a kiss.
As Patience settles into bed, she asks about Esther's book. It's a book of poetry from a famed Indian poet. Being a country bumpkin hasn't given Patience much experience with poetry, so she asks to be read to. Esther obliges and recites poems until Patience drifts off to sleep.
Now, is she reading it in like Hindi or is it in English? Do we know?
It's in English, I believe. It was a book of translated poems.
Okay, I was curious if like
because this is that weird time when like British folks kind of respected Indian culture, but also thought they sucked at the same time, and so there's weird like informational exchange, but not like respectfully. They did. Same things happen with Black folks and African folks in America. Where it's like, we kind of respect you, but also I would hit you with my truck. Like, you know how it is. It's rough. Yeah. But what I will say is, like, reciting poetry to someone, especially in this time period, is one of the, like, most romantic things you could do.
Yeah.
So, like, she's laying it on thick, and I'm not sure if she knows that she is, but they're both just like, read to me, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, you're courting each other,
Oh,
man.
yeah, my heart's a little fluttered.
That's like you pull it out of, that's the handbook. You know, that's the gentleman's handbook. Okay, read her a poem. Mm-hmm. Bring her flowers. Recite a Shakespearean sonnet.
Sing her a song at her balcony.
Yeah, for sure.
Later, we come across a frustrated Patience as she attempts to light the fires for the day. It's a damp, miserable-looking day, because England, and she just can't seem to swing it. Her frustration begins to tinge with despair when Mrs. Sweet finds her and sternly asks her what the holdup is. She's told to grab a light from the kitchen if she can't manage to use the matches. So Patience rushes to and from the kitchen with a small bit of kindling, but right as she's about to use it, a gust of wind flows down from the chimney and promptly puts it out. Now despair has come to roost. She utters a Gaelic curse and scrubs at her eyes to fight the tears that are forthcoming. Blessedly, Esther comes across her and offers her assistance. She, firstly, comforts Patience, assuring her that Mrs. Sweet is on edge due to their master's recent illness, and that she understands how difficult starting a fire can be on days like these. She, too, used to be in charge of lighting the fires when she first came to the manor, so she can empathize with Patience. She shows Patience a trick to get the matches to light, gently guiding her and only doing a mild ghost situation. Mm-hmm. So just like, hands on top of hers as like showing her
and
what
to
do.
And this is fair because like, holy shit, the weather from fucking England and the
trash. Total trash.
Yeah, like it's always damp and cloudy and rainy, And then like, I can't imagine because their chimneys, it's something to do with their flues back in the day, and I can't remember what it is, but like, shit just gusts down
Drafty
there.
as shit, yeah.
Drafty shit.
So, Esther goes to her just a little bit, and then success as the match lights, and Patience is finally able to start the fire. Patience thanks Esther profusely as the fire grows in front of them. She really is so lucky to have such a kind friend. She says as much, expressing her gratitude as their bodies fall closer towards one another. Their faces follow
Don't
suit.
fucking kiss in the middle of this room.
Patience is unable to finish her sentence as Esther's lips meet hers. The warm glow of the fire beaming out around them, seemingly immortalizing this moment.
They're alone, right? Thank Jesus. Because my brain is just like, Mrs. Sweet's gonna show up. I'm like, no, please don't kiss.
They're alone
right
in a
now.
room, yeah.
I don't know what will happen if you kiss in front of anyone. Like, that feels so dangerous.
Yeah, they're just out there in a room by themselves. Like, Patience is doing her normal job of having to light all the fires in the manor, but like, here it is.
Oh, it's a nice little kiss.
Let's see how sweet it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back just a little bit to see the ghosting.
Yeah, it's super mild. Like, just
yeah. It's totally mild and like innocent.
It's what you'd regularly do to somebody, not like if you were, possessed.
Patience was ready for more.
Yeah.
Bless them.
They linger in the kiss, their eyes sliding closed. It's nice. Esther is the first one to come back to her senses and shoots up, apologizing for imposing on Patience. Then she flees, leaving Patience alone with a rising blush. How delightfully improper.
How cute.
Mm-hmm. We can get more improper, though. On a different, less gloomy day, we find Patience on the hunt for Esther. They have a spare moment of freedom, and she'd, of course, like to spend it with her dearest friend.
Friend my ass.
It takes a bit of asking before she remembers the alcove in the garden that Esther had spoken to her about. So she'd mentioned, like, whenever she has time and the weather's actually not shitty, then she goes out to this alcove and she'll read her poetry or read her little books there as well. She finds Esther in the garden, not unlike she was in her dream, though significantly more clothed. She startles Esther by complimenting her choice of secret spot. She'd, like, come up from behind the poor girl, but damn if Patience couldn't help herself. Because in this moment, she's kind of seeing, this is her, and the like, wisteria is, like, raining down upon her.
Your wet dreams come to life.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, of course.
Not that Esther truly minds being startled, because, hey, that's her boo right there.
Yeah.
Patience notices a new book, a red-jacketed book with Sappho written across the cover.
Ooh,
and asks about it.
Sapphic.
Yeah. More poems, it seems. Having settled her curiosity and now feeling quite a bit intrusive, Patience offers to leave and give Esther back her privacy. Stay, Esther says, encouraging Patience to sit on the stone bench behind her. She again reads to Patience, this time from Sappho, the lesbian Bible.
Nice.
Each stanza seems to carry a weight that neither of them can fight against. And as she finishes her recitation, Patience reaches down to cup her cheek and pull Esther into a kiss. The kiss intensifies as Patience tumbles to the ground, desperate to be closer to Esther.
I'm just nervous, because I'm all caught up in the romance, but I'm also terrified for them. I'm like, one, racism, worried about that, and two, lesbianism. This is y'all are playing fast and loose in a very dangerous kind of time.
They continue to kiss as they both fall to the grass, separating only to giggle. They gaze deep into each other's eyes, just basking in the wonderfulness of this moment. They should get back to work. Their break has been long enough, and surely they'll be looked for if they linger more. As they climb to their feet, Patience asks if they should continue what they started later that night. Esther replies, I doubt I'll be able to think of anything else for the rest of the day.
So they've been slowly moving towards this.
I gotta show you this kiss too, because,
Yeah, I like kisses.
It was,
kisses are good.
I was very happy about this one as well. Because, yeah, she's just out here
there's an old man nearby and everything. That's what I would
have been the gardener's busy. The gardener's busy. He's already finished over here. He's not gonna bother them.
Very cute.
It's just all very romantic. And then I love the way that she grabs Esther's face. Yeah, by her face, and just kind of pulls her in. This whole scene is very sweet and very romantic.
It's a very romantic. Y'all can't be outside. I'm very worried about it.
Yeah, this definitely has all of the, the clutching and the, windswept feeling of, being in an Edwardian novel. It really does have that
it's
vibe.
It's very, very pretty. I'm just very nervous about it.
Yeah, no, things actually...
Because, I don't know. I just don't trust you. I think there's going to be a hydrogen bomb snuck in here somewhere.
No, we're going to have a chill time. The worst thing in this is racism, I promise you.
All right.
And just towards Esther, not as a interrelational relationship thing. So,
well, yeah. I'm sure they hide that a lot.
We'll get into it. But so Esther's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about it all day. Hell yes, baby. And God bless lesbian Jesus, they absolutely fuck that night. It's beautiful and it's sweet and it's full of the naive passion only two young lesbians can have. And you should enjoy visually the look of peach versus brown skin, because it's a treat for the eyes, truly. Very aesthetically pleasing.
Very, very relevant to our lives. You gotta show me a little glimpse?
Yeah, because it's also... Because the way that... I appreciate the way that they had sex for the first time in this, because you can tell that they're figuring out as they go.
Yeah.
Which would make sense, because at this point, they likely have no idea...
what to do.
And a lot of times in this case, you didn't necessarily even know how to have sex until you got married. Depending on who you were.
Depending who you were, you might not have known how to, masturbate.
Yeah, and so in this case, they're definitely really just feeling out each other's bodies and doing what feels good. And it's that's really nice to see. And so it's not super long, but they do just get into it. And it's very sweet.
Nice.
And then that night, they sleep in the same bed and continue to, hold one another until morning.
Very nice.
So it's very sweet to see. So, lesbianism achieved. They're happy to have each other and feeling quite comfortable in their lives. So, of course, the master of the manor dies. But his death, though sad and potentially ruinous for the staff, it creates an opportunity for our ladies. An opportunity that is facilitated by Lady Blythe. So Patience and Esther push forward into a new life together, one that allows both of them to grow and change, and to determine and reach for their dreams. So, like, the master dies, and then they end up... When the master dies, like, if there's no one else to lead the staff to, like, the staff gets dissolved, they're given letters of recommendation.
Yeah.
It's like your job.
But, like, it's worrying.
Closing.
Yeah, it's worrying because, like, they would be worried about, can we get a job together? Because
Exactly.
that would be their concern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they go ahead and said, like, they do get a job together. They do continue to be able to do that. But it is a complicated situation because of that. But, like, enough people kind of do themselves at this point that they're able to move on that way.
Yeah.
Because they're also coming from different levels. Like, Esther's a lady's maid very frequently. Like, she isn't always a lady's maid, but she's been it on and off often enough to where she has a very different rank that she can
position herself into.
Transition into than Patience has, even though Patience is a great maid. Because Mrs. Sweet does tell her, like, you're a great maid, dude. Like, no kidding. Which, other case in point, there was a scene, and it was just a quick scene, but it was a young man was trying to carry, like, young grown man, like, absolutely an adult man, but an adult man was trying to carry some wood, and Patience was like, oh, you're struggling, I'll get it, and just carried it in one arm, and it's like, yeah, you're a great maid, Patience, because not only can you do your maid duties, you help with some of the other duties because you're strong as an ox. That's sick as fuck.
She had 7 younger siblings. Yeah, she's strong as an ox.
Yeah, so their whole ability to be able to stay together is, because of luck, but also because the people around them respect them. And I know I forgot to mention it, but, like, the master of the manor, he does have a wife, but she's just like, I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go stay with my grandbabies. And so she, like, fucks off. And so that's what...
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, because, like, they're not necessarily going to come to her.
Yeah, and don't live by yourself in a giant fucking house with, like, 14 servants. That feels weird. Do something else.
Yeah.
Go be taken care of.
Yeah, go live with your children, with your grandchildren. That's sort of the whole point. It's like you get to move back with your kids back in the day. I don't know about now, but, like, back then.
Yeah. All right. Let us dive into these characters, my guy.
Okay.
So first and foremost, we have Patience Payne, a brand new maid and the oldest living child in her family. She lives to help other people, making service an ideal occupation for her. She's rather naive of the world due to her country upbringing, but she is wonderfully open-minded and has a strong work ethic that makes up for her lack of knowledge. Despite her newness, she's quite skilled with numbers and arithmetic, which proves useful as she and Esther work towards building a life together. She tends to be nervous and struggles with self-esteem, but will leap into action if someone she cares about is in need. She also fully respects Esther's history and culture and loves her with her whole heart. She's incredibly family-oriented, and this extends to Esther's mother and her grandmother. Then we have Esther Bird, Saha, whichever one you want to use, though I think Saha is what she would prefer to go by. An experienced maid who's worked her way up to a prominent position in spite of racism, classism, and the like.
Real quick, is her middle name also part of her last name, or was that a middle name?
It's just middle name.
Okay.
Yeah. She comes off as quiet, thoughtful, and reserved, but she carries within her an intense fire, reminiscent of prominent Indian revolutionaries. There is a female revolutionary that they liken her to. Okay, yeah, so they liken her to Sophia Duleep Singh, who's also known as Princess Sophia. She's the daughter of the last Sikh Empire Maharaja who was exiled to England. And so this princess was allowed to live with Queen Victoria. Cool. And she became famous in her own right as a leading suffragette who campaigned for women's rights in Britain, India, and beyond.
That's cool.
So yeah, so pretty regularly Esther brings up Princess Sophia, and then other people around her will also kind of mention, like, you're kind of Princess Sophia. So as much as Esther's like, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to be, chill about stuff, she's got this within her, like, I'm going to do something for
Is
myself.
Princess Sophia alive during this time too, or is this like taking place after she was alive, or do we not know?
I believe this is when she was still alive.
Okay,
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because you know, timelines.
Yeah. Esther is intelligent and quick-witted and has a strong interest in politics and Indian liberation. But she too struggles at times with believing in her capabilities and worrying over her bookish nature. She's revolutionary just by existing, but also exhibits qualities that align with the outspoken noble ladies of the time. She's just really fucking cool, honestly. Like, I think she's a great character.
Mm-hmm.
She is more than happy to be with Patience and is thankful to love and be loved in return.
Mm-hmm.
And to be loved honestly as her full self. Lady Blythe, who I had mentioned earlier, she is the niece of Lord Honeycutt. Lord Honeycutt is the master for the manor they're staying in. She's his niece. And she is also a wild, independent woman. She's fallen into luck as her father has squirreled away her inheritance as pure cash and as a flat, rather than a dowry, allowing her to go buck wild for a time.
Nice.
Because at this time, normally, if you had inheritance from one of your parents passing away...
It's a dowry.
It's your dowry. You can't touch it. But her dad pulled some strings, and so she's just allowed to go fuck-ass crazy in London.
Mm-hmm.
She fancies herself a proto-feminist and a suffragette, and is quite progressive in her thoughts. But, due to it being 1800 whatever, she's also kind of racist and classist. She fully supports Patience and Esther's relationship, and was more than happy to keep them together after her uncle's passing. Even with all her shortcomings, she's trying and is an overall kind mistress and a great ally to her couple.
So she learns of their relationship?
Yeah, and she doesn't care because
nice.
For whatever they're doing, she's doing worse.
She's like, cool, you guys are lesbians, I'm a lesbian, and I have 3 of them.
She's like... it's not the lesbianism, it's the other stuff. So she's not a lesbian, but she's doing a bunch of other stuff.
She's probably smoking.
I'd probably say that she might be bisexual, actually. Like, she doesn't seem to look into it that deeply, but she might be bisexual. She's doing some other stuff, though.
She's dueling Italian husbands for their Italian wives.
No. She's not that rad, but she is still getting into a lot of mess. She's getting into trouble. She's obviously a suffragette, which isn't looked upon favorably at the time either. So she's having, like, kind of her wild college years.
Yeah.
And
they're probably like, oh, she'll grow out of it.
Pretty much. And so when she hires Patience and Esther, her whole thing is like, you guys can be discreet, right?
Yeah. Just
and Patience and Esther see some wild fucking shit that they would have never experienced back at home. Because they were living and serving 2, like, elderly people. Mm-hmm. And then to suddenly be thrust into London social life, they're like, oh, we're going to see some stuff. And then they really see some stuff.
Yeah, like... I would love to read a book written from the point of view of servants, because there's always romantic books out there of, like, the Duke of Cambridge thrust himself upon Lady, da-da-da. And all I can think about is, like, there are servants somewhere who have probably seen you stick your dick in that woman's hole.
Absolutely.
And I want a story from their perspective. I want to hear these maids be like, girl... Mm-hmm. You know how the Lord was fucking so-and-so last week? Well, guess what? Now he's fucking her brother. Mm-hmm, you know, just someone write that. Or if it's already written, email me. Let me know. Want to read it.
So then we have Mrs. Sweet, the housekeeper of Honeycutt Manor. She's stern and serious, but that's likely from her long tenure as an accomplished servant. She's goddamn impressive for what she's achieved, not only as a woman, but as a black woman during this time. She truly cares for the girls and gives them her blessing when they part. She gets to go retire and plans to go have her own wild times with men. Like when she sends them off like, hey, you guys go have a good life. I'm going to go back into my hobbies. Knitting, crocheting, men.
Nice.
Good for her. I'm going to then talk about a couple characters that we don't see early on in the comic. They come in later, but they're important enough to mention now. There's Mrs. Beverly Meyer, a good friend of Lady Blythe, and a non-binary person. We get introduced to her or them in a suit at a meeting of the minds at Blythe's home. She's a great friend not only to Blythe, but to Patience and Esther, and seems to have a more nuanced view of gender and class struggles due to her age and the way she chooses to present. I just think she's neat.
Nice.
But she describes, like, the feeling of being non-binary without knowing,
what
how to yeah, like how to like quantitate it or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's pretty cool. She does show up in a suit, and then she's like wearing a dress later, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I just do what I feel like, but I really enjoy kind of playing around with it. It's pretty cool." And she's married, which I also think is cool. And her husband's like shorter than her, and I'm like,
You know, he's
yeah,
like, step on me, queen, king.
let's fucking
Whatever
go.
you want to call yourself today.
Let's fucking
Step
go.
on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Mrs. Thorburn, a high class woman and professional fashion buyer. She's also a suffragette who's very aware of the role class and race play into social politics. She helps broaden the girls' horizons and gives them opportunities to help in their quest for true independence. She's also a mommy, as is revealed in an extra.
What do you mean by that?
She's a little bit of a mommy dom.
Ooh.
And yeah, the author wrote that in as an extra
Nice.
and included it in the book, and I'm like, I didn't need this, but I'm very thankful.
Who is your mommy?
There's another character that I'm not going to get into, but because there's a lot of characters who get names and you have like you're still interested in, but they just come in quick.
No, that's fine. I was like, is it someone we know? Is it someone that you're telling me about right now? You know?
Yeah, I will definitely show you. But yeah, because there's just tons of small side characters that make up like the rich and robust life that the girls lead. But I just want you guys to read this and meet them because they're not quite pivotal enough for me to talk about here, but they are still lovable and interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should.
No, seriously, if you're looking for a book with great like sapphic art and like lesbianism, for real, this one, because like the sex starts early. The book my wife has is pretty thick, and like a 16th in is when the sex starts. Like I was like, oh, that's early, and it's great.
Yeah. This is about 300 or so pages of the actual comic, and then
it looked like the sex started on page 50. So you're in for a treat, is what I'm saying.
It's 327 pages total. And then a chunk of that is also dedicated to notes towards the end. So if there's any questions you have, there's like research notes and like notes about the time period in the back as well. So I know I've explained some of it to y'all as we're going through this, but if you have any extra questions while you're reading it, that's there. So please buy it. I know I'm not done, but please buy it.
This is fast. I'm glad you own a copy so I get to read it.
Yeah. I love this comic, full stop. Like I just have an extra soft spot for it. Because I love learning about history and Scottish lasses, and
the woman looks like me.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Fantasize.
Maybe there's another bonus that I have to it. But I also just generally think this is a good piece of fiction that covers a lot of ground while still focusing on the development of the relationship. And I love a romance story that gives me a bunch of other shit that I need to know.
Yeah.
I really do.
I will say this. Go in like expecting to hear racism. It's set in the time. It's awful, but racism exists, and you got to go through it.
Okay. So
I'm bringing it up because I heard about your complaint.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. So while I was doing research for this, I came upon a Goodreads review that seems to have completely missed the point of what the story is about. And like, I understand everyone can have their opinion, but this person's objectively wrong. However, the review helped me structure how to talk about the story, so I will give them that. Thank you for that. I'm not going to link to it. I'm not going to give their username. If you find it after reading this, good for you. You will know what I'm talking about. But I do want to fight this person in the street.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do that. We're going to use them instead.
It's nice when you get a historical piece and you don't have to think about racism, nepotism, whatever, xenophobia. It's nice when that happens. It doesn't always happen, and sometimes that's the point, too, is that, hey, this shit still existed even with all the terrible things in the world.
Yeah, but this person was going off in a stupid fucking direction.
I know. Like, I remember you ranting about it to me, and that was the only thing I knew going in about this, was that someone gave a very wrong opinion on this book. But listening to it and knowing the time period, and then, like, because my little brain is just like, oh, yeah, this, and this. I really like history. I wish I could be a historian kind of person, but I'm terrible with dates. Like, I could tell you about a chunk of history. Could I give you an accurate date? No. And I think that part is important. So, can't do it.
Well, I'll just say first and foremost, this is not Bridgerton. Bridgerton is a great show. It's a great adaptation in that they just said, hey, we just don't want to show off white people again. We want a multicultural cast. And so we're going to, like, retcon history a little bit and do something interesting. And we're going to make this white-ass family fuck as many people of color as possible. that's great that they did that. I love watching the show, at least for the costuming and the casting alone.
It's a beautiful retcon, and yes, it can be done, but there are books that don't do it.
This is not that story, and I think it would have taken away from some of the impact of the story if the author had pulled a Bridgerton. So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
it. If you go on to read the Bridgerton books, no, they don't do that. Like, just so you know, the TV show, it was the TV show's idea.
It was Miss Shonda Rhimes making that
idea to, like, do that switcheroo, which then inspired Julia Quinn to write Charlotte, which is amazing. Point is, like, it's great that these women built off of each other, but I just want you to know that if you see the Bridgerton series and you're expecting it to be really cool about people of color, no, I'm afraid everyone's white in the books. But that's just, Julia Quinn was writing a period piece.
Yes.
It's all great. It's all fine. But isn't it great we live in a world where we can change the rules? So fuck yeah.
Yeah. So let's first talk about Patience and Esther's relationship. It is painfully sweet and mutually supportive. Esther comes out hot in the beginning as a sort of guiding light for Patience as she navigates a lot of new experiences, which makes total sense. His Patience is younger and has been living entirely on the outskirts of mainstream society. She has way more to learn than just cleaning things. Again, she's 19, country bumpkin. There's a lot of shit she doesn't know, and it's not just about, her work.
Is she a little younger than Esther, too?
Yeah, because Patience is 19, and Esther is...
Like 21?
21, yeah. So 19 and 21, and then Esther...
That was the vibe I got, was that Esther was just, like, a couple years older.
And then Esther grew up kind of in and around this household as well, and more in mainstream society. So there's just an experience gap there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's extremely accustomed to her life, which is proven by her position as a lady's maid, which is a higher position than all the other servants. She also just has more access to reading materials, the newspaper, books, articles, and of course, she was born in India and lived there long enough to be fully immersed in their culture, so she's just worldly in a way that Patience is not.
Yeah, I wonder if she technically had a grand tour since she came over from India.
No, it really was just like, come live here so you can have a decent life and like,
Well, like, I'm wondering how the traveling arrangements went. Like, she could have had like a baby version of the grand tour.
I don't think so. I think it was very straightforward. Like, just get there and go. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I think it was very much get there and go. Because she also, her main experiences are India and England. She knows of other stuff from books, but she doesn't really have that personal experience with it. So I don't think she stopped off in Paris or anything like that.
Okay.
But there are things that Patience knows that are wholly foreign to Esther. Having a robust family being one of them, but also the intricacies of rural life and the intricacies and expectations of being the oldest child in a family. Also, Patience knows how to cook, which is a skill Esther is lacking in since moving to Britain. Because before she knew how to cook Indian dishes, but she doesn't know how to cook British food.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand some of the societal expectations that British people are expected to go through. There's certain phrasing that she's still kind of like not quite on with or whatever, And she's been excluded from certain aspects of British life by our most dreaded enemy, racism.
Yeah.
So even when she's been interested, she's sometimes been kept away from it because, you don't need to know this thing, silly girl. Well, yeah, white people will do it for you, Once they embark from Honeycutt Manor, they both enter a world that is unknown to them, the city of London. At that point, they're consistently relying on each other for comfort, for support, and in plenty of cases, for permission. Like, Patience will glance at Esther to see if it's the appropriate time for her to tell somebody to fuck off, and vice versa. Because they're having to understand, like, well, we are both in a very specific position. Can we tell this, like, higher up person, go fuck yourself? Are you cool with them talking to you that way about your skin color and your race? Or do you want me to, like, be your, the white person who steps in and says, hey, excuse me? And so they... Yeah.
This is a real, true modern thing. There are times where, like, I look at my wife, like, can I cut a bitch now? And, like, she has to give me the signal of, like, no, I got it, or we ignore it, or, like, go for it. And when I get to go for it, but, like, it's any mixed couple relationship, I think they have to have this, like, mutual look of, like, hey, can I react?
Exactly. And so I respect fully Patience looking to Esther, like, is this the time?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like, should we do something? Because
especially since, like, they're starting out. Like, now, we've been together now for a long time to where I don't look at you. Like, I normally know when to react. But, like, when you're starting out, you don't know.
Exactly. And, like, I'm so sorry. We're gonna do this for a second, but it's kind of like you don't want to be the white savior. You really do need to let people of color speak for themselves if they can do that. If it is a delicate, nuanced situation, there are times when, like, yes, you should speak up, but if somebody is with you and you can look to them like, is this the time? You let them give you that go ahead. Don't just start doing it. Because the amount of people I've had try to defend me that I'm like, I understand what you're trying to do, and I really do understand you're trying to respect me, and I understand that in another situation, I know I can ask for your help. They did straight up embarrass themselves, and I didn't need it. Yeah. I had people go to bat for me, and it's like, shut the fuck up. We're not talking about that.
Right. Like, it's you are jumping onto the wrong subject.
Yeah, or like you're mad about the wrong thing, and I don't need you to be mad.
Yeah, really, like, if you're going to be defending someone of color, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm white, I really think you should only do it in like a protest situation. You are white, stand in front of the people of color, because the people of color are more likely to get attacked than your white ass.
Or also, if a person of color is not there, stand up for them. If someone's talking racist bullshit, that's a great time when you can say with your whole chest, hey, you can go fuck off, and you don't treat people that way, and like, my friends are people of color, and I don't appreciate you saying that, and I am not a safe space for your racism. There are plenty of times to speak up, but you should be checking in with people when they're there too.
And sometimes it's not a big, broadcasting thing. Sometimes it's like someone says, oh, such and such people are like that, and you can go, hey, I don't appreciate that talk in front of me. I don't believe that. I don't think that's right. Let's not talk about that. And you just having that one-on-one with someone, you may not think it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It is as simple as just saying, hey, I don't appreciate that. Yeah. So what? And this is the same thing with like, misogyny and stuff like that.
And classism.
Any of those things, just say, hey, whatever. But
so. And again, I'm only adding my 2 cents to it because I've been in this relationship a long time as her bestie, as her wife. Like, that's the only reason why I feel like I can talk a little bit about it.
Yep.
But my wife has top tier about this type of conversation. She's the one you listen to. But I just feel like, hey, I'm just letting you know you can do it without putting your foot in your mouth.
Yeah. But so I just appreciated how the relationship was displayed, and I think that made sense.
It's really important, especially in the time. Like, again, it's also hard mode times. Racism.
Yeah.
Hard mode.
But the two ladies embody one of the best things about a good relationship, which is positive growth. They both improve in ways, both separately and together, becoming closer with each milestone they reach. That's some good shit. It is also important to note that what they're capable of is facilitated and aided by women who are of a higher station than both of them. Like, Lady Blythe helps them out a ton to start, and she's followed by several other women who recognize their capabilities and give them opportunities they'd otherwise be ineligible for. Because classism and racism are a son of a bitch, and it was the style at the time. Racism is the kind of elephant in the room throughout this, but the author themselves says it was unavoidable with these specific characters in this specific time period. And I agree. They made what I believe to be good choices featuring characters that are usually missing from Edwardian media, but that, of course, comes with some consequences. Like, people are obviously going to give Esther attitude for not only not being white, but also coming from a colonized portion of the world. So there's some casual racism from a handful of people, but it doesn't go without notice, and Patience doesn't ignore Esther's discomfort, but rather gives her space to advocate for herself, like we were saying. Because outside of everything, the ladies are still of the lower class. What the fuck are they going to say to high-class people telling them poor little Indians are bound for servitude?
God.
Like, you can't, like, that's a terrible thing to hear, but also, they do not have the social status to just clap back and say, go fuck yourself. Like, today I have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Today, pretty people can say it, but at that time, you could get fired, you could get shunned, you could get your career ruined, your life ruined. Yeah. It was a different time.
And to, like, add to a lesser extent, like, during this time, like, Scottish women and Scottish men would be being called savages. Like, they just threw that around, like, being like, ugh, Scottish people are loud, they're abrasive, and they're savages. and they do these barbaric things, and it's like, dog, England, they are doing the same shit y'all are doing. They are having like the same courting marriages and stuff.
But yeah, fair point. That's literally what I had written next, because that's but that's the whole point. Is like Scottish people were second class citizens in this case too. So you technically, like, Esther's second class citizen because of, you know, her appearance, but so is Patience, because that red hair would have been obvious. And this was during a time when England was telling Ireland and Scotland to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, her red hair and her body shape, because a lot of
would have marked her immediately as Scottish.
Because unfortunately, like, there was a very interesting, like, historical piece of work I read where it was like this, like, Welsh woman, like, was constantly having struggles because she kept getting mistaken for Scottish, and she was just like, I'm Welsh, which is, like, you know, different. Which also had their own...
Exactly. What they also are dealing with xenophobia against Welsh people, so, like, Britain was wilding at this time.
It was crazy, and it was just, like, she just happened to... Like, she was blonde, but she had the very Scottish body type that they're like, well, you're definitely Scottish, and it's like, no, she's just Welsh. It's just her body.
Yeah.
But, like, it's insane. It was... This stuff back in the day was truly insane to me.
Britain sucks. I'm so sorry. Like, the British Empire was a hell of a thing, and it sucked the whole time.
And for those who get offended, every country has sucked at one point or still sucks now.
But Britain was just the they did a master class on sucking for the entire world.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But I really like these moments where Patience and Esther are, like, standing up for each other, but also having to deal with, you know, some of the xenophobia and this racism, this classism, because they are few, but they're also educational and help establish how revolutionary Patience and Esther are for choosing each other and pushing towards a better tomorrow. Like, there's no actual villain to this story, because the only problem is really the time period. I also appreciated the choice to focus on the progressive side of young Londonites. Like, again, Patience and Esther are fully accepted by Lady Blythe and find plenty of other friends and comrades that are aware and supportive of their relationship. But this is just a side effect of being in London at the time. People were out there trying new things and slinging whole.
Yeah, if you want, like, a movie that kind of talks about, like, how London and English people change their minds about everything every few years, the movie Age of Innocence will do that for you. Like, holy crap. Because the point of that movie is, like, there's a rich guy who he wants to marry someone, but no, he has to stay in his rich class. And then by the time, like, he's old enough to be a dad, which, like, 20 years later, none of that shit matters anymore. So he wasted his own youth, his own desires, his own happiness. If you're very curious about, like, how fucking crazy these trends were and, like, classist they were, there's movie examples, book examples.
If a monarch randomly started doing something uncouth, everyone would be like, well, it's actually pretty cool. That it was that simple. But the mere fact that Lady Blythe is living on her own was insane for the time. So it's no surprise she knows a bunch of other weirdos who also love living alone and having gay sex. So too, just like with Maid in Heaven, Patience and Esther will likely grow to be considered BFFs forever that grew to be old maids and rely on each other. It's not like society would recognize what they have. But it doesn't mean they can't look for ways to add permanence and meaning to their relationship. There's also such a big emphasis on tenacity. Like, no matter the hardships, Patience, Esther, and the other characters around them keep moving forward. So many of them aren't able to make big strides, but they keep chugging along, clipping away at the status quo in small ways. That theme is obviously captured by the inclusion of the suffragettes, but you also see it in the work that the ladies are able to find. Patience gets a job that would have been relegated to men in the years prior, and Esther essentially makes an opportunity for herself. It doesn't happen overnight, but via a series of small actions that eventually snowball into major change. I'm sorry, like, that's fucking sick and encouraging, especially right now, that the little actions you take every day can mean something huge in the future.
Like, this is why I love history. Go explore history. Like, you always hear, like, the big stuff in history, like, oh, this epidemic, tuberculosis, you know, we invented the iron lung. You know, you always hear about the big stuff, but there's plenty of little things out there that just show delightfulness of humanity. And, like, go look for that stuff. Like, it's a delight.
And that's what I feel like this comic manages to really encompass. are the little in-between pieces, the little lights.
Mm-hmm.
Patience and Esther is a wonderful little comic, especially if you want to read something that's chill, but still packed with emotionally stimulating moments and everyone's favorite, pornography. It's a snapshot featuring people that have been hidden or excluded from a history we're all at least vaguely familiar with. Even as a work of fiction, it gives a voice to those who are hidden in plain sight. Our foremothers, who fought for us without ever knowing we'd exist. But fought they did, with a tenacity and an earnestness that allowed them to find a joy they could never imagine.
Nice.
So, if you want to have a sweet, charming, and horny time, Patience and Esther is for you. You can find it wherever you get your books, including your local library, which I found out and I'm tickled by.
That's great. Go fucking check it out.
Yeah, it's in several libraries in our area, and it will actually get sent to your library if you request it. So
that's nice.
Yeah, you can. I know I bought mine from the publisher Iron Circus, but you can absolutely just find it online anywhere. I mean, obviously skip Amazon right now, but you can find it pretty much anywhere. It's between $25 and $30 in most cases, so pick it up. It contains racism, classism, Britain being Britain, misogyny, and mentions of death. There's an extra at the end set in the modern times that personally attacked me, so I hope you enjoy that too. You can find more from S.W. Searle at their website, swinsea.com. That's SWINSEA.com, which is links to their social media and their other works. They've got a whole host of other comics for people of any age, so there's definitely something else that you guys could, pick up and love. And if you're rude to them, I'll come to your house and I'll pee in your water bottle.
Yes. All right. So now for my whole rating. I've been looking forward to reading this book for a while, and I've heard about it from Chuck for forever. Just like shit kept getting in the way, preventing me from looking at this book. But I've wanted to read it. I'm interested in it. It's got history in it. It's all the wind for me. So it's 10 out of 10 whole for me.
Oh, also, I'm so sorry. Very important for y'all and for Keelz. They do have Edwardian era sex toys in here, which was a delight to know about.
Hell yeah.
So 10 plus.
So is it like the tools that they use for hysteria in women?
Yep.
Okay. So for a fun little homework assignment, go look up what hysteria was for English women back in the day. You might get a surprise chuckle out of that, and also probably a surprise gasp of shock and terror. But it's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I also agree. I believe this deserves a 10 out of 10, and it's still one of my favorites, and you should pick it up immediately, please and thank you. But
try not to fantasize about me when you see Patience.
Hey, don't fantasize about her. That's for me. Want more Hole? We out here at Hole-Chat on Bluesky and Tumblr, and available for your most serious inquiries at hole.chat.69@gmail.com. You would do us the biggest of solids if you followed us wherever you're listening and gave us a little like or a share or a digital kiss. That's all we got for you today, but thank you guys for listening, and tighten up.
Tighten up.